The Japanese government may vote to make all foreign residents of Japan just a little bit poorer. And if you're an international person living in Japan, no matter what your visa is, no matter if you're changing visas, this is probably going to affect you. Whether you are a foreign resident, a student, a worker, someone who plans to live and enjoy their time in this glorious nation we call Japan, your visa fees are about to get drastically more expensive. The end of November saw these shocking revelations in the Japanese government, where they decided, you know what, we've got to make our visas in line with other international countries like the UK and the USA. The plan currently is to drastically increase the prices of immigration procedures as of March 2026, or the new financial year in Japan. Currently, this is only a plan, so we don't actually know if the fees are going to be drastically increased in the next financial year. However, a lot of these plans sometimes do turn into action very quickly. Why the sudden increase? Well, as I said, to bring Japan in line with other international nations, but also they want to use some of this money to fund international immigration services that happen in Japan. Currently, a lot of the international multicultural services on offer to people living and working in Japan are completely free. So who's funding them? Well, the taxpayer is technically funding these programs. And what are internationals in Japan if not taxpayers as well? Increasing the fees so multicultural services in Japan can be more well-funded, more robust, makes perfect sense to me. Like, honestly, the visa renewal fees in Japan have been dirt cheap. I've thought that since I came to Japan originally about 8-9 years ago, it hasn't really increased. It's been about 4,000 yen. That's nothing. And I've never really understood why they were that cheap, but I didn't complain. 4,000 yen for a simple visa renewal? I'll take that. It's beautiful. And it's a very affordable fee for an apparently xenophobic country that doesn't want people to come here and enjoy their time living and working in Japan. And while a pre-2025 Japan may be beating the xenophobia claims only in regards to immigration fees, and if this potential policy does become law, good luck Japan, you are not beating the xenophobia claims in April 2026 onwards. But these fees were very affordable. Pre-2025, a simple visa extension cost you about 4,000 Japanese yen. Nowadays, it's costing about 6,000. But the increase we may see from April 2026 onward is ridiculous. Let's check out these fees.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
These fees will be clapping everybody's cheeks, be you a professional, a student, someone going from visa A to visa B, somewhere between A and B, your cheeks getting clapped. It appears what the Japanese government did was remove the old cap, put in a new cap, and then cap every single new renewal fee as high as they could. Let's look at some of these numbers and you'll start slowly realizing what I mean. For a simple visa renewal pre-2025, you were paying the low price of 4,000 Japanese yen. It then slowly increased to 6,000 Japanese yen. These are very, very affordable rates. Even going from 4,000 to 6,000 yen, it's perfectly okay. And when I heard there was going to be another visa cost increase, I just assumed it would be another 2,000 to 4,000 Japanese yen. But that's not what happened. The new estimated cost for a simple visa renewal is going to be anywhere between 30,000 and 40,000 Japanese yen. That is 5 times more expensive than the current visa renewal price. This doesn't make any sense. For a simple visa renewal, we shouldn't be having to pay this much more money. And just to simply change your resident status, that's also gone up 5-fold from 6,000 Japanese yen, once again, to 30,000 to 40,000 Japanese yen. And changing your resident status in Japan is something that everyone at one point or another is going to have to do. So to expect people to pay 30,000, 40,000 yen just to change the status from student to worker, or from the base visa you got when you entered the country, probably humanities, to something like engineering or international work, or even your base visa to a spouse visa, having to pay 30,000 to 40,000 Japanese yen. It's a gross increase in cost. Now, once again, these costs aren't solidified yet. These are the proposed costs that the Japanese government want to slowly roll out, or I guess very quickly, suddenly roll out from April 2026 onwards. The most egregious increase is clearly permanent residency. Right now the cost stands at 10,000 Japanese yen. the cost is going to balloon to somewhere between 100,000 to 300,000 Japanese yen. What do we do? 300,000 Japanese yen? I know some people living in Japan who don't make 300,000 Japanese yen a month. There was recently that whole big case of Japanese English teachers battling for basically minimum wage because the wage they were on was so damn low. At this price, you're blocking out a lot of long-term teachers from becoming permanent residents of Japan. And maybe that's their plan. Who knows? I can't read the minds of the Japanese Prime Minister and her cronies, but I assume that is the plan, to make it as hard as possible for internationals living in Japan to get permanent residency, or to change their visa, or just to get a visa. These increases aren't going to hit everybody the same. Once again, the poorest in society, those working low skill, low wage jobs, they're the ones that are going to feel the full impact of these changes. Anyone who's working a normal company salary job, some kind of high up senior position, they're not going to feel this. 300,000 yen, 40,000 Japanese yen for a visa renewal or to get your permanent residency. Generally, those who are working more permanent jobs in bigger companies, that's not that much for them. While 30,000 yen isn't a massive expense for me, I can see it being very damaging for people who are working paycheck to paycheck. And of course you have the whole, well, if you can't afford it, you shouldn't be living in Japan. What about honest wages? What about paying your employees a decent wage? Japan is currently discussing putting their international visa renewals in line with Western countries, with the UK, with America. And that's all well and good. As I've said before, as I'll say again, Japan should slightly increase how much they're charging for visa renewals for permanent residency. But none of this, we're going to put it in line with international companies. You're not paying international wages. The salary in Japan has been stagnant for about 30 years now. Even if you are a bilingual, high-schooled worker working in Japan, you can make a lot more money doing that exact same job in another country. A lot of internationals coming to live and work in Japan aren't coming to live and work in Japan because they're seeking their fortune. There's no fortune to be made in Japan, not really. They're coming over because they want to live in Japan. They like the country, they like the food, they like the people, they want to travel. Everyone has various reasons for coming to live and work in Japan, but I guarantee for 99% of people, money is not one of them. So once again, there should be no talk of getting Japanese visas in line with international visas until you start getting the salaries in line with international salary expectations. There are certain internationals living in Japan who I feel particularly bad for. If you've been slapped down by the 1-year visa year after year after year, I do feel bad for you. Because your 1-year visas now come with a potential 40,000 Japanese yen tax attached to it. Before, a 1-year visa was just a little bit irritating. You pay 6,000 yen, have to spend the day at Shinagawa torturing yourself before you collect another 1-year visa. And by the end of the entire process, you've probably wasted a day and a half going back and forth between Shinagawa and home. But at the end of the day, outside of bus and train fare, you've only really spent 6,000 yen, and you've learnt yourself a valuable lesson about the terrors of Shinagawa. But now you have to go through this exact same thing, learn the terrors of Shinagawa while also being taxed 40,000 Japanese yen. Well, potentially taxed 40,000 Japanese yen. The jury is still once again out if these changes will actually happen in 2026. 3-year visa, 5-year visa, I don't feel as bad for you. Generally because if you can't raise yourself 40,000 yen in 3 to 5 years, you have bigger problems. What are you spending your money on? Do you have a drug problem? Because that's a month of saving max. The reason a lot of people get slapped with 1-year visas is because they're working a low-skilled, one-contract, hakken-style job, normally English teaching or some kind of a contract worker, which usually means the government doesn't expect you to be in Japan for more than a year. Because of this, you just keep getting slapped with 1-year visas, no matter how many 1-year visas you get. You'll find that a lot of unlucky English teachers who've been slapped with 1-year visa after 1-year visa, once they leave the AOT world and go to something more substantial, they find themselves with a 3-year visa pretty quickly. But this is what I mean by it's a tax on the poorest people in Japan. I have a 3-year visa. I just renewed my visa and got another 3-year visa. Even if this new visa policy is put in place, I don't have to worry about it for another 3 years. But if you are a contract worker with a 1-year visa, you're worrying about this right now. I know the vast majority of you, even on a poor English teaching salary, can afford to pay 40,000 Japanese yen for a visa renewal. We know you can do that. The point is, you shouldn't have to. There's also the issue of international families who live in Japan where every single member of the family has a visa. I'm not sure about other countries, but in Japan, the visa is done per person, not per household. And these costs add up. In a house with 2 children, a wife and a husband, under the current system, renewing a visa would cost you about 24,000 Japanese yen. It's a little bit expensive, but if you're living in Japan and you're working a job and you have your entire family here, you can afford 24,000 Japanese yen every 1 to 5 years, depending on what visa you guys end up getting. But taking the proposed future cost of 40,000 Japanese yen, for a family of 4, you are now paying 160,000 Japanese yen just to renew your visa. In a situation where every single member of the family has to renew their visa at the same time, you're paying 160,000 yen like that. That is rent. That's basically how much rent some people pay for a 3-bedroom accommodation in Japan. So for that month that you're renewing your visa, you're basically paying your rent twice. And it may just be a small financial burden, but it's a financial burden nonetheless. Families with dependents, teachers and other yearly contracted workers who have tiny 1 to 5 year visas, yeah, you're gonna get affected a little bit by this change. But generally, if you buckle down, you scrape your pennies together, you'll be able to afford this change, even if the change is hit at the max rate of 40,000 Japanese yen. But students and fresh graduates, they're going to be affected the worst by this change. Remember, under the current system, it is only 6,000 yen to go from a student visa to a work visa, or a student visa to I'm looking for a job visa. If you are a freshly graduated student, how the hell are you going to afford 40,000 Japanese yen to go from student to looking for a job to looking for a job to having the job? Depending on if you have to change your visa once or twice, you're looking at anywhere between 40 to 80,000 Japanese yen. It doesn't make any sense. It is now a major financial hurdle that students are going to have to somehow get over after they've graduated. And we could have a situation where students come to Japan, study their entire degrees in Japan, and then decides, actually, I don't want to pay 40,000 yen to change my visa from student to worker. I'm just gonna go home. I'm just gonna head back to my home country and look for work there. And that's what the racists and the weirdos in Japan want. They want students to come over, spend some money, and then go back to their home countries. But you guys aren't thinking about the long-term longevity of Japan. What does Japan need? Workers, people. Japan doesn't have enough people, making it harder for high-skilled graduates to go from graduates to part of the workforce doesn't make sense because we need the workforce. We're running out of people. I don't think the greater ramifications of these changes have really been thought about. Increasing visa costs for working stiffs and families, kinda shitty, but go for it. Increasing visa costs for fresh graduates, what are we trying to do here? Do you want more workers in Japan or not? I mean, I guess the answer is not. Apparently, there are 3 major reasons for the big change in immigration fees, and one we discussed already, getting Japan in line with global standards. Number 2 was to support the infrastructure for international communities in Japan. I completely agree with this. I think Japan does need more robust international services set up to help foreigners living in Japan. Be that improving administration systems or creating some kind of multicultural consultation centers where people can go to discuss taxes and visas and finance stuff. And the question is always who should pay for these services. And yeah, I think these services should be paid for, or at least a large chunk of it should be paid by internationals who are going to use the services. I highly doubt a Japanese person born and raised in Japan is going to go to the International Consultation Center for an English consultation. Doesn't really make sense. These services are mostly used by international people living in the country. So if we have to pay just a little extra immigration fees to get those services up and running to a level where they don't break down, I'm fine with that. But by a little more, I don't mean raise the price 5 to 10 times. I mean like 10, 12,000, even 15,000. Perfectly acceptable. 30,000, 40,000? You're being ridiculous. The third reason is to cover administration costs. Apparently the visa process has gotten a lot more difficult over the years, and with more and more people wanting to come and live and work in Japan, they need more people. They need more man hours. And I agree, if anyone has spent more than 20 minutes at Shinagawa immigration, you know, and I know, and everybody there knows, they need more people. I will gladly pay 3 times more in immigration costs to get more people at the immigration centers. The quicker the immigration process can get done, the happier everyone will be. We don't know how much fees are going to increase, but there is one thing we are definitely sure of, and that's fees are going to increase. Maybe a base renewal will cost 30,000 Japanese yen, maybe 20,000, maybe 40,000. But what we do know is that there are ways you can save yourself just a little bit of money during visa renewal time. One of the ways is applying online. Applying online is honestly my recommendation. You should be applying for your visa renewal online. The benefits of applying online? Get out of here. Numerous. It's easy, it's quick. You can do it at home, at the office, on your phone. It also saves you money. You can save yourself 500 yen every time you renew your visa online. They give you a little discount for not going into the Shinagawa office and ruining everyone's day. It's not bad at all. The only downside is you need a My Number card. I wouldn't really say it's a downside, it's more something you definitely should have anyway. If you don't have a My Number card, I suggest making it as soon as possible. Over the next 5 years, the Japanese government is basically doing a big rollout where every person needs to have a My Number card, so it makes sense to get it right now and then use that card to renew your visa online. Trust me, My Number is going to make everything easier. Get it now, get it quickly. I didn't know this until researching this video, but I've actually not had to pay any visa renewal fees for the past like 5 or 6 years. And that's because all of my companies over the last 5 years have had visa renewal support baked into the contract. What does that mean? Well, visa renewal support means that the company will renew my visa on my behalf. I don't have to go down to the immigration center. I just hand off my passport and Zaryu card to the people in charge, and a week to 2 weeks later, I get a fresh new Zaryu card and my passport back in the mail. No stress, no fuss. Who's paying for the visa? I don't know. Probably my company. Probably comes out my salary. I don't know. All I know is I don't see any fees leave my wallet, and that's enough for me. And this could also be you. At your next contract negotiation, try to get some kind of visa renewal support baked into your contract. If you're going to an industry that's not teaching, especially because non-teaching industries tend to do this more than teaching industries, but try to get some kind of visa renewal support baked into your contract. It not only makes things easier for you, but it also actually makes things easier for the company. If every 1 to 3 years I have to take 1 to 2 days off work to go and spend a day renewing my visa, that's time that I could have been spending working the job. If you've been living in Japan for a while, or you have enough points out of the new Japanese point system to get permanent residency, apply for permanent residency right now. What are you doing? The amount of people I have met in Japan who've been here for 10, 11, 12 years and they don't have permanent residency is absolutely insane to me. Permanent residency should be your visa goal living in Japan. Be it through time or points or whatever system you want to use, that should be your goal. Once you have permanent residency, your visa is no longer tied into your job. You can get PR and quit tomorrow. Nothing will change. As long as your bills are paid, as long as your rent is paid, as long as your taxes are filed, the Japanese government don't really give a shit what you're doing. You're fine. You are now your own problem. It's a goal that every person should be trying to get in the country. Permanent residency also opens a lot of doors, not only in the industry you're working in or the industry you eventually want to work in, but little things like getting a mortgage, getting a loan, opening certain accounts and businesses. Having permanent residency makes those things a hell of a lot easier. Out of all the visas, spouse, humanities, engineering, blah, 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 permanent residency is the best one. It's what you should be aiming for. Considering from 2026, we're going to have an insane increase in cost for permanent residency from 10,000 yen to perhaps 300,000 yen, it makes perfect sense for those who are able to apply for permanent residency like right this second. I am not able to apply for permanent residency until next year, March. So you know for a fact when next year March hits, I'm applying before the changes come into effect, so I don't have to pay 100 to 300,000 Japanese yen for a new visa. It's utterly insane. There's one thing we know for sure. That's changes are coming. The magnitude of those changes, that's anyone's guess. But for the time being, we can prepare. But guys, that's all I have for you in this video. Are you going to be affected by these massive changes coming in? Let me know in the comments down below. But until then, I have one more video for you here about the eerie increase in bear attacks that were happening in Japan in 2025. But I'll love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.